Greetings! I, Titus Narrative, your Lord and Emperor, here at the Dracovin Empire, and welcome, one and all. Are you ready to dive back into the world of darkness and into Werewolf The Apocalypse once more? I hope you are, whether you're joining me, of course, live over on Twitch over here, or later on YouTube. Hey, YouTube people out there, for you guys out there, please appease the algorithm for me and like, subscribe, ring the bell, and all that stuff for the video. Boom. Today's question is, have you played a Black Fury? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're beginning the tour of the tribes, all the different werewolf tribes. I'm surprised I hadn't really talked about them except in large groups. It was one of those things to discover in my old videos that was kind of like, haven't gotten that topic. So yes, we're going to be going individually in all of them, not just the ones part of the Garu Nation, but all of the ones, and in the extinct ones we'll hit up too. But we're starting with the Garu Nation, of course, and alphabetically, the Black Furies. So, what's some books that I can check out if I'm interested in doing further research into the Black Furies? Well, good question. And I will answer that with, there's a lot of books to look into, but these are the ones that I would recommend to start out with, especially if you're looking for a picture of the full information. Of course, the best place to start is something like the original Werewolf The Apocalypse book. This includes the 2nd edition book, the revised book, and I would say the W20 book would work too. Any of those are going to paint a basic picture. The same can be said for... There it is, the Player's Guides. The Player's Guides are the same way. Any edition of the Player's Guide is the original edition of the Player's Guide. I have to go through that order. Whoops. Will work to give you some basics of information and mechanics for play. And then we get to this image here is the best image I could find of the cover of the Tribe book, the original Tribe book of the Black Furies, but it doesn't have the title on it. And then also the 2nd edition Black Furies Tribe book. So there's Tribe book, Black Furies, and Black Furies Tribe book. Those two books there, I think, would be very good for a very deep picture, basically painted as a picture. That's the kind of way I describe the older edition Tribe books and a lot of things, because these books do have a lot of, like, lore built in, and a lot of lore ideas. So, yeah, I'm going to be summarizing a lot of that kind of stuff, and just giving you a basic picture. Here's their tribe symbol, and we can talk about who they are just a little bit. So they are part of the Garu Nation. Their nickname is the Furies. They're Black Fury, Black Furies. Their totem is Pegasus. They are a tribe, and they are the matriarchs of the Garu. They are not only women, but mostly women. They have a few male metas, and we're going to talk about their female-centric kind of side of things, especially how it's developed, but yes. Originally, they were just an all-female. They eventually kept their male metises, because it was a proclaim of Pegasus they finally started listening to. We'll talk about that. And they are known to be honorable, wise, prideful, and have battle skills, too. So they are a warrior people, but not necessarily the way you think about it. Yeah. So, there's a lot to unpack when it comes to Black Fury in Krandos form. So, Furies themselves do mistrust written records. They see it as being tainted by the Weaver's webs. So they have oral tradition that's passed from mother to daughter. And it does make their history a lot more mythological than certain. So we're going to start here with the very, very mythological section of their history, which is a difficult one. Their legends say they were created by the moon goddess Luna, an incarnation of the Greek goddess Artemis, and appointed as protectors of the wild, and avengers of the worst crimes of Gaia. First pack of them, the Medusae or Gorgons, embodied the 5 auspices and saw themselves as the unconscious hand of Gaia. They settled the territories around the Aegean Sea, and they became the ancestors of the tribe, and then had a collective totem for their descendants. And a collective totem for their descendants, the totem of the Gorgons. The Black Furies claimed that they were forced behind the Impurgium, which is the calling of the human population practiced by Garu in old times, which some still call for. Once they discovered that man had learned how sex and childbirth correlated, and basically used this knowledge to subjugate women and children as property. Sexism! So yeah, they got behind the entire calling when things seemed to turn bad against them, female-only group. Many did protest against the Concord and formed the Proto-Bactes to continue their work of avenging crimes against women and children, because they saw, like, the calling as not really the job of them. They wanted to avenge the crimes themselves to keep people in mind. It's sort of like they're technically want to be equalists, but are trying to ensure they are treated equally, technically. So then their oral tradition continues from this kind of initial area and intertwines with Greek myths. The Titans were the offspring of Gaia, personifications of the Weaver, and had an age of harmony and prosperity. Then the 12 Olympians were followed the Golden Age by the imbalance and patriarchy, intercepted by their tribal totem Artemis, again, whose Loon is an incarnation of, who walked among the Olympians and convinced the Black Furies to coexist with them. The Furies are the Irenes, the infernal goddesses of vengeance and hounders of those who violate women, children, and the wilderness. From their stories, they hunted Orestes, who had slain his mother, and seized the administration of justice in Athens, after Orestes had been pardoned by Athena. Athena also sought to subjugate Pegasus, a new spiritual patron of the Black Furies, after the last of the Medusa had died, and Artemis had no longer the necessary resource to continue acting as a tribal totem. Betharelon, Athena's pawn, had strife with the Red Talons, and inspired the story of the clash between Greek heroes and the Chimera. Pegasus became old enough, rebelled against him. Betharelon gelded it, which outraged Pegasus and led him to throw it off his back into the Aegean Sea, which then he landed in a fury Cairn and promised that he would never again kneel before a male, which was Pegasus. But also spoke of an edict that allowed the male metis of Cubs, Furies, to be accepted to the tribe, which took a while before the Furies actually consented to this practice, but yes, there was an entire thing in their founding story that, hey, male metises, they all good. You know, they can be part of our group. They also, Black Furies, take credit for destruction of Sodom in retribution for the gang raid of Lot's daughters. And they were amongst the tribes, along with Vienna and Fenrir, that worked to end the Roman Empire, that saw Rome as a tool of the patriarchy, having seen God. So that's the early history, kind of as told by them, but again, they don't trust written records, so it's a lot of myth. When we get into the Dark Ages, we get beginnings of corroboration, a lot of evidence at this point in time, which is good, but things aren't necessarily going well for the Black Furies, because Christianity had persecution of wise women in faiths that were closer to the ideal of the mother goddess than their own, and they fought against Christianity for this. The rise of the Order of Our Merciful Mother, which sought to subtly nudge Christianity towards the veneration of Gaia, disguised as Mary, Mother of God, or at least respecting women and nature, sparked strife within the tribe, until several elders managed to mediate between the Order and other camps. And then during the Crusades, they did move to end what they saw as systematic oppression of women. The tribe did isolate itself from other Gura during this time, fearful of contracting the Flaying Plague. Pleasant one there. Because the practices of the Black Furies and their kinfolk were very earth-spirity, it brought persecution by priests during the Inquisition during this time. So witch hunters didn't really do a lot to the Furies, but, you know, their kinfolk were damaged by this. They didn't suffer the same way as some other beings during the Inquisition. Certainly they did. But they're kinfolk. Now, when we reach the Victorian age, things change a little bit for them, and it harkens about what's going on in the divided nature of the societies within the Black Furies. Because the Victorian age saw the Americas being discovered and settled. And certainly speaking, the Furies saw this as an opportunity to find places untainted by man. They met the pure tribes there. They saw that multiple sacred sites, due to the lower threat of the worm in these lands, were defended by merely one pack or two, and wished to seize them for themselves. Now, in contrast to other tribes that were coming in, and the pure tribes are the tribes of the Americas, if you are unaware of those, just noting that, which are the Uktena, Croatians, and Wendigo. Keep that in mind. Anyway, Furies used diplomacy. They basically got the approval of the pure tribes to say tribes their Cairns. They're like, so unlike the others that would come in and just force them out, these other tribes were like, you're not doing a good job protecting this Cairn. We can. The Black Furies were like, hey, look, we're coming in here, we're moving in here. We want to help protect these places too. Can we also do this? And this non-aggressive style of negotiation did actually help the Black Furies amongst these tribes. With the Gyro Nation having animal relations with the pure tribes, ensuring that, because of their connections. Other Furies did try to establish Cairns in the Amazon, but met with heavy resistance of the local Fera, which diplomacy didn't overcome. I'm kind of thinking back to the War of Rage. Just saying, War of Rage, big thing there. So there was a divide between these two territories, and a divide between the Furies. The American Furies demanded that they had more packs to help defend these new Cairns, and defend against the ever-growing threat of Banes and other great effects like Stormeater. European Furies really couldn't spare warriors, with the power of the Worm Weaver were growing in Europe with the Industrial Revolution and a lot of military conflict during this time period. So, yeah, it was a kind of juxtaposition between these two sides. Now we move into the modern times, which things have still changed and developed, and there is definitely split between the very smaller subgroups within the Furies because of the modern age. Emancipation split the tribe some more. There are both Furies that believe that women are still not liberated from the control of the patriarchal yoke. Others believe that women have been liberated to the extent that modern women prefer to act like men rather than actual women. So there's kind of like this juxtaposition of discussions. Other points of conditions are issues of things like abortion. It's a pretty major issue in a lot of ways with a lot of people. And in the Furies, some believe it to be the worst crime a woman can commit against Gaia, while others believe that's merely a symbol of a woman's right to control over the body. They can't agree on that either. Ever-strengthening these schisms are inflicted with young Garu, who see the Black Furies as merely an excuse to swagger like the males of other tribes, or excuse to stomp on or abuse men instead of preservers of mothers' mysteries. European Furies, in more recent years, entered alliance with Yuri Konizuko of the Shadow Lords to police the Balkans of Wormtaint. And multiple Furies were involved in the battle against Baba Yaga and her servants in Russia. In Central America and Southern North America, the Furies are experiencing a curious wild plague. It's a metamorphic plague that's responsible for growing number of male non-Metis Furies at large. The disease is far more likely to affect the infected psyche. The plague alters the fundamental principles within the person dramatically. A 180 turn of art. Personalities, members, and even gender can change. And around the time of appearance of this plague, Medusa, one of the 5 Gorgons, remember I mentioned that the 5 Gorgons were the original tribe and became totems for them, disappeared. Medusa was the longest living and most powerful of the Gorgons. The other 4 have separated to become 4 distinct totems. And all this means that the tribe is in a very difficult spot. So, yeah. Maybe we'll explore a lot of this stuff in W5. Haven't as of yet, as far as I know. But there's a good possibility that this could be. Alright, I'm going to show this kinfolk here because we're going to talk about the organization in camps. amongst the different subgroups, circles, or as they are referred to, Kukloi, by the Black Furies. So the Black Fury as a whole, though, have two groups which basically kind of rule over them. The inner Kaliaks and the outer Kaliaks. Probably butchering that word there, so apologize. And these are composed of the oldest, most renowned Furies of the tribe. Both of them. The outer is comprised of 13 members who dictate, basically, Fury orthodoxy and set tribal customs. Officially, these are chosen randomly by lot every year from their older members, or everybody technically. But some Furies have pointed out that Medices are never chosen, whether male or female, and one incumbent has remained in the Kylaks for several consecutive years. The inner Kylaks is much more secretive and comprised of 5 members, each mirroring one of the original Medusae, as the epitome of their respective auspices. How they're chosen, no one really knows. Some say Luna has a hand in itself, and their identities are absolutely secret. So you can see this is the kind of weird secret governing body that may have some corruption or something, maybe not, who knows. It's a lot of questions. So, Kukloi, camps. Let's talk about some big ones that are in the Black Furies here. First off, there's the Amazons of Diana. They're a group that are concerned with being brash, unstoppable warrior women a lot more than they are of the sacred avenger role that Furies kind of found themselves taking up traditionally. They're rarely seen as a formal group, and more of a catch-all for the more dedicated to the right of proving themselves equal to any man in combat against the worm kind of groups of Furies. Some within it see it necessary to bring the Furies to the 21st century and away from the pointless, archaic practice of pursuing criminals. But Garou, who simply hate all males, also tend to gravitate them towards the Amazons as well. Those outside this camp consider Amazons to be immature, overly violent, and misandrist. The Avenging Mothers is another Kukloi. They're a very small subset that works to bring down the patriarchal structures of the Garou nation and tribes, like the Silverfangs, by exploiting their trust. So, getting kind of with them and undermine their patriarchal structures that they may have. I mentioned them as a precursor in the ancient days, but the Bakchetes, which are very different than the Amazons, are a conservative faction that pursues the original sacred purpose of the Furies, avenging the wrongs against women and children with fanatical zeal and merciless violence. You done something wrong to a woman or child? Ooh. Yeah, they believe that in doing so, the fight against the worm's hold over humanity and is weakened, and they can avenge Gaia herself. The Freebooters' mission is to find new wild places that can be consecrated to Gaia and opened as Caerns. The Kuklos is shrinking because there are is shrinking because there are so few wild places left in the world. A fraction of Freebooters believe they need to find a new body for Gaia elsewhere in the Umbra, somewhere the worm has yet not found. So they're trying to find a new body for Gaia. The Moon Daughters seek to spread Gaia's worship through New Age, New Paganism, and push themselves to keep Gaia's spirit alive through change, embodying the forces of the wild as best they can. Their ritual methods change as much as New Age fashions tend to change. So, yeah. The Order of our Mystical Mother, again, another one I mentioned, is among the most derided Kuklos within the tribe. They act subtly to bring others' dogma closer to aversion to respect Gaia and women. The Order works to seek to reform humanity's society and Christianity, in particular, their original target, by utilizing their own tools against them. They take credit for the rising popularity of the Virgin Mary in a lot of places. The Sisterhood originally began as a network to protect kinfolk, women, and Garou from the Inquisition during that time period and get them to safety. England probably does a little bit of that now, with the Second Inquisition. But today's, they manage various kinfolk networks of the tribe, offering succor to them and informing other tribe members when a kinfolk has been wronged by a man's hands. They're also adept at gathering resources for the tribe to use. So, yeah, maybe still deal with Inquisition stuff, spread information to those that, the Bhaktis, they need to get some avenging. When an Amazon needs to get in a fight, they can help with that information. Sometimes I wonder if it's just particularly actually male or man as in human sometimes with a thing. Probably mostly male in a lot of the ways they say this. Sorry, I'm just thought patterns in the way that this entire thing is written out and the information presented as I read it. The Temple of Artemis is one of the oldest Kukloi and one of the most conservative. They actually say withdraw from the Garou nation and say that the Furies should rededicate themselves to the original purpose of Avengers of Women, so they probably support the Bacantes very much. Bacantes. They're also judges to Furies who have broken tribal customs. A list of some Cairns that I can mention that are controlled by the Black Furies: the Sept of Artemis, the Sept of the Black Pegasus, home of the Blessed Home Cairn in Congo, in Africa, the Blood of the Sea Sept in the Black Sea in Russia, the Sept of the Bloodied Stair in Qom Ash, I'm going to butcher this one, Sukafa Catacombs in Alexandria, Egypt, the Sept of the Bygone Visions in Yukube, Greece, the Dark River Cairn in Congo, Africa, and the Sept of the Moon's Blessing in Cumberland Falls, Appalachia, United States. Let's talk the customs of the tribe, because we've kind of established a lot of information about the Black Furies and sort of talked about it, but it's actually a lot deeper than you think. And this is the point in time where I kind of can impress on how their tribe really works. So, outsiders will look at them as basically men-hating Amazons, ultimate feminists. But the Black Furies themselves are all about providing opportunities to females who've been impressed. They usually don't work through intimidation, and are usually content to help women and children through persuasion and compromise, actually. Honestly speaking, peace first, violence if it doesn't work. It's not that they won't turn to violence, it's just that's not their first choice. But if you offend them, or you hurt their charges, well, that's when the violence comes out, and they are merciless avengers and punishers of those they considered criminals. And again, it comes down to personal view of the Furies, because they vary greatly from member to member. However, they do honor their connection to the wild, and oppose the Weaver tends to be a constant for their, and opposition to the Weaver in particular tends to be a constant for all members. And they do present themselves as a women-only club, but that's not quite true, because they do count a surprising number of male metas among their ranks. And in spite of legends that say Black Furies only give birth to females, male cubs are born to Furies just as much as female cubs. Originally, they would ceremonially sacrifice all male cubs in the past. Now, however, most are given to other tribes. Few are still sacrificed. Rarely. Most often, male Haman and Lupus cubs are given actually to the children of Gaia. And Furies can be born into this tribe or recruited from others, particularly ones that show little respect for women, such as the Get Fenris. In part, the exchange of newborn male clubs allows them to take away female clubs that are in dangerous circumstances. So that's the kind of thing is they see it now as our males, we're not going to ceremonially sacrifice them, we'll give them away, we'll trade them, and we get those females that, you were going to not treat very well anyway. So, the Black Furies divide their roles and spiritual positions according to their age within the tribe. Young Furies, Furies. Freudian slip. Young Furies are considered maidens as long as they've not birthed a child. Now, Black Fury does believe that breeding is a sacred duty and a gift, and carefully choose the fathers of their children. After that event, they're referred to as mothers. When a mother becomes too old to bear children, they're referred to as crones. Metas don't count as having any of these roles. They have their own roles. And again, metas aren't only males, but metas males do exist. Please keep that in mind. So, if you wanted to play a Black Fury that was male, you're metas. They have several additional tenets. Black Furies have added several additional tenets to the litany. The litany being the rules of the Garou nation, generally speaking, the laws of Garou, its code. First is suffer no abuse of women. Second, keep the wild places pure. Third, train the weak, protect the helpless. Fourth, remember your parents. And the last is a reminder that fatherhood and fathers are just as important as motherhood and mothers. And that Guy demands equality between the sexes, not matriarchy. That's an important part about their litany. The litany of the Black Furies is they want equality. When they don't see equality, they go against it. Certainly there are those of them that push to the other extreme because of a lot of pressures and a lot of things that have happened with good call, mistreatments. But yes, the true litany of the Black Furies is just equality, because both mothers and fathers are important. Though all Furies do tend to operate similarly, there are lines of divisions on how much men are to be shunned. All Furies will avenge a crime against a female. Older Furies tend to regard men more lowly than others in their tribes, viewing them as little more as oppressors and troublemakers. Hey, all that problems that happened that we're trying to get away from in human culture, they remember it. Despite this, there are those among the Furies that are first to point out that man is half of the equation that males are, and should not be pushed away or denied. Younger Furies do tend to have more liberal views regarding the Garou in general and men in particular, and they are willing to work with males for the benefit of everyone. But there are several who've taken up a rather misandric view and begin to lose themselves to their own rage. These divisions are even more present in the Gorgons, ranging from man-hating Medusa and Ishine to egalitarian Helena. So the very spirits, even though they're now separated a lot more, they're really just the one kind of group, that are their patrons have also kind of altered the directions they go. Now, Black Furies, being female, view themselves as having a closer connection with Earth Mother Gaia than males. In exchange for their gifts, private moots are regularly had as recognition of these gifts. They also acknowledge the tribe as a whole. Some rites are open to kinfolk and humans, but others, particularly the physically and emotionally exhausting Ulaka Mangelis, is exclusively for Black Furies. Some moots also exclude male Metis Furies, so you're part of the tribe, but sometimes you can't show up at big parties. It's like, this party, we're sorry guys, this is the women only thing. I know you're part of us. We still accept you, but this is our thing in the tribe. This is not your thing. Just go over there. While the main focus of veneration of the Furies are Gaia and Luna, always in three aspects, the maiden, the mother, the crone, respectively, for Luna, they do recognize the power of the triptych, their name for the triad. To them, the triad are the Mora, with the wild personifying Clothos, the Morai being Fates of Greek mythology, who spins the thread, the Weaver, whom the Furies refer to him as the Namer, personifying Lachus, who measures the thread, and the Worm as Atropos, who cuts the thread. The chief enemy of the tribe is considered to be an enemy known as the Patriarch. Some Furies equate the Patriarch with the Worm, others the Weaver, even some with the Abrahamic God. They consider it not an embodiment of fatherhood or manhood in general, but an incarnation of sexism and the abuse and oppression of women. So it is the Patriarch, but it's not fatherhood, manhood, it's sexism. In contrast, the Furies revere the wild as a force of femininity, an instinct instead of an intellectual abstraction of the Weaver, and regard as masculine by the tribe, so the Weaver is masculine. The wild is a force that keeps the cycles of Gaia and Luna moving and complements them. And that's where we hit up on the Black Furies today. I could probably hit up some of the interesting connections to things like the Uranuses and, the glyph meaning lightning and judgment and stuff like that, and the influence that they were in the writers. But those are just little trivia pieces. It's interesting that the Black Furies on the surface seem like something that you would just say, like, warrior werewolf, Amazons. And yes, there are members of them that kind of fit that bill. But really, they're a lot deeper. It's the thing that they were always seen as kind of the mothers, the matriarchs of the Garu nation. They saw themselves in that position. And they believed in equality. And it's when that equality broke that things changed for them a lot. They became from just generalistic Avengers to specific Avengers. Because they always were these Avengers. It just became now, instead of just avenging against stuff against Gaia, it was now against Gaia, women, and children. They saw themselves in an important role. And certainly speaking, there have been a lot, especially in their area of the world, in European-centric cultures, there's been a lot of misogyny and patriarchalness and a lot of things that have happened that have been bad to women over the years. Not always, but plenty of it. It just depends on the area of the world you're in, too. And they are in an area of the world, Europe, where it went through a lot. You know, it's a thing that you see that they are, in effect, etched into or shaped by the situation that they were in. And certainly speaking, you can see the evolution in modern. There was a lot of schisms that began to occur when some of them moved to the Americas, and those that remained in Europe between the two of them. And even now, with a lot of the ways the world has changed and opened up, things are schisming even more. And they are still united in some general ideas and practices. But certainly it is becoming a lot more individual in a way the Black Fury does believe and act as things. You can see it still be part of some of the smaller camps. A Ku Klux still can be part of it. Certainly there are members of it. But again, individual has become much more important in a lot of ways, and much more the way they interpret things. Each own Fury has its own idea. And, you know, they will remember the full litany plus their litany. Their 5 laws. Remember your parents. That's the last one. And it's an important one because it shows that, you know, if you're playing a true Black Fury, you want equality. You don't necessarily want control. You want there to be equal. You want there to be justice. You want everybody to be treated like they are a person. But you understand there are importance and roles that everybody fulfills in life. Kind of things like that, you know. Mothers do what mothers can do. You know, a father can't do what a mother can do. A mother can't do what a father can do. Sometimes it's that kind of idea. There are certain unique things that people do, and I think it's that kind of, like, ideas. The equality between sexes and an understanding. But it doesn't always end up that way. Still, protecting the helpless, keeping the wild safe, getting rid of people that abuse women. It's big parts of it. And again, yeah, most Black Furies are women. But hey, that male menace over there, he's still out there. Still can play something. I'll leave it here today, though. I think this was an interesting one to dive into, and a good first one, I feel like, definitely. Granted, I did it because it was alphabetical. It's a bit of laziness on my end. But, it was a good one to start out. I hope you did enjoy today, as we're beginning our tour of the tribes. So we're going to go to the Garu Nation first, and then a bunch of others. There's a tribe listing that I'll just go through and, hit them all up. If you want to check out more tabletop stuff, especially World of Darkness stuff, every Friday I do World of Darkness stuff in the early afternoon. Usually then on my other tabletop days are Tuesdays, Thursdays, same kind of time, mid-afternoon, kind of early afternoon. Saturday's a back day if I miss any of those 3 days. World of Darkness Day again, Friday. If you want to check me out live, so just catching me up over on YouTube. Other things to check out on YouTube or live are on Wednesdays at 9 p.m. EST. I have Crimson Queen, my live play of a tabletop role-playing game. In this case, it's Pathfinder 1st Edition. We're doing an adapted version of the Crimson Queen. You can see me running some games. Really fun. We're having a great time. Really enjoyable with all those people. I recommend checking it. And then, of course, Saturdays, discussing tabletop on Saturdays, where we talk about news of the week, deeper discussion topics, and more. Anyway, I have social media linked below, and yeah, that'll be it. Everybody out there, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Enjoy it, and hopefully join me for more World of Darkness, Werewolf Tribes, or anything else that I talk about on Tabletop. And until the next time, I bid all of you out there a deep and wonderful farewell.